this, which is this.
Right.
And we've said this properly here. Okay. But this is a completely separate thing, and we need to say what that's about.
Then we say that. Isn't that what we do?
They know we're
And
on.
you have to be aware of
Are we on?
Well, then how specific do you keep it?
maybe we're talking about.
Do we have to say that?
Well, I would just say it's a council appointee, but it's not his. We're live.
I see.
We're live.
So you see.
That's what that says.
Everybody hear me okay? Excellent, excellent. I got a hand in the back, so we're good. Good deal. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the regularly scheduled December the 6th council meeting, and we've got a full house, which is fantastic. We've got a lot of things to celebrate in Abingdon. We're very proud, as we should be. One of my favorite teams is here tonight, but we'll get that going in just a minute. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody, and it's great to see so many smiling faces. With that being said, note that there will be an opportunity for public comments, and we've got a few signed up. When I call you up for public comments, if you'll state your first and last name and your complete mailing address, we would certainly appreciate that. And a reminder, we are going to hold it to 3 minutes per speaker in public comments, so just keep that in mind. And again, welcome to everybody. And Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Here.
Mr. Anderson? Let the record reflect that Mr. Anderson is not present. Ms. Pillion? Here. Pledge?
Here.
And Mayor Webb?
Here. That brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Pillion, if you'll lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Amanda. And that brings us to the prayer. And tonight we have the pleasure of Miss Barbara Farmer coming to do the prayer for the council. And as I always say, I preface it by saying we all need a little more prayer, especially me. So please come on up and lead us in the prayer. Thank you for coming.
Mayor Webb and council persons, I thank you for this opportunity, and it's my privilege to ask you to pray with me. Father, indeed it is a privilege to stand in this place, a place of honor and a place of responsibility and a place of integrity. And it's my privilege and my pleasure to stand in the gap and ask your blessings on these gathered here, and on the business that will be undertaken by this council tonight on behalf of this town, a good town to call hometown. And I thank you, Father, for that great privilege. I ask you to bless Washington County as well as Abingdon town and the Commonwealth of Virginia. And, oh God, please bless America once more with your presence, and just restore to our nation and our community a sense of humor. Lord, we thank you for the Christmas season that's approaching and all that brings to us, the joy and the peace and just a sense of well-being among your citizens. That is what I ask you for tonight, Father. Just peace and good humor and joy and just a sense of your presence. In the mighty, powerful name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to the approval of the agenda. Council, if there's no changes to the agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve it as it is.
Mayor, I think that we need to add one closed session
Okay, all right.
for discussion of the salary of a council appointee.
Okay, fair enough. So let's backtrack just a second, and I would entertain a motion with reflection of that amendment to the agenda.
I move that we add a closed session to the agenda
And approve the agenda as amended.
and approve the agenda as amended.
I thought that's what you said.
That's it. Motion by Ms. Pillion to add a closed session pertaining to salary to the agenda tonight. That will be at the end with the other closed session we already have on the agenda. And a motion to approve the amended agenda, right? Yes, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Owens. Council, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb?
Aye. That brings us to the approval of the minutes. Council, if there's no changes, I would entertain a motion to approve the November 1st, 2021 meeting agenda or minutes to the meeting, as well as the November 18th, 2021 mid-monthly meeting minutes. Anybody?
Any questions?
I'll entertain a motion to do both of them at the same time then.
Okay, I so move.
All right. Motion by Ms. Pillion to approve both the November 1st, 2021 and November 18th, 2021 meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. And that brings us to one of my favorite points in the meeting. For those of you who aren't familiar, in the past 2 years of me being the mayor, we've had so many sports teams to celebrate, athletes individually, as teams. It's just been I think just a record-breaking time for Abingdon athletics in general. But near and dear to my heart, of course, are the men's cross-country team, because I actually ran with most of you back before I got so old I couldn't keep up. I just want to say just a few words about how proud I am of each of you guys and as a team. Again, for those of you in the crowd that aren't familiar with boys cross-country or cross-country in general, it's not something that you can step into and become successful overnight. It takes years and years, if not a decade, of training to reach the level of these young men. And as I said before, I used to be a pretty big runner in my time, and I did actually train with many of you when you were much younger. But it's probably been, Brent, 7-8 years ago when I ran with these guys, just to show you what kind of commitment they've had. It's probably been the better part of a decade. So the fact that you guys have bound together as a team and coalesced and formed this state championship team with that many years and so many factors and variables that can derail anybody at any point in time is just amazing. I mean, it is truly amazing. So with that being said, we wanted to bring you all and honor you tonight. And we do have a proclamation to honor and recognize the Abingdon High School Vhsl Class 3 Boys State Championship Cross Country Team. I'm going to read it. It's not too lengthy. This is a proclamation on the occasion to honor and recognize the Abingdon High School Vhsl Class 3 Boys State Championship Cross Country Team. Whereas the town of Abingdon wishes to honor and recognize the Abingdon High School Boys State Championship Cross Country Team, comprised of 8 members and the team's coaches. Whereas the commitment required for student athletes to be part of a sports team includes meeting required academic success, attendance, and commitment to a rigorous daily training program. And whereas those sacrifices paid off on Saturday, November 13th, 2021, when the boys cross country team competed in the Vhsl Class 3A State Championship in Salem, Virginia. And whereas the team was Mountain 7 district champions with a perfect score of 15, outscored the second place team by 27 points, the team also captured the Region 3D championship with 26 points, outscoring the second place team by 39 points. Whereas the team made school history by winning the first ever Vhsl State Cross Country Championship title for Abingdon High School with 33, and I said that right, 33 points, outscoring the second place team by 53 points. And whereas Isaac Thiessen garnered the individual state championship and Dylan Phillips earned the individual state runner-up title, and whereas the coaching staff and members of the Abingdon High School boys cross-country team made a significant impact on the school and the community by qualifying the team and winning the state championship, and whereas it is with the pride that the town council recognizes the commitment and dedication of these students who serve as a model for citizens of the Commonwealth, and now therefore by the authority invested in me as mayor, and on behalf of the Abingdon Town Council and citizens, I hereby commend the 2021 Abingdon High School Boys Cross Country Team for their tireless efforts and achievements. The council wishes their team success in their future endeavors. Signed, Mayor Derek Webb. Again, I just can't reiterate how impressive. I actually got the chance to go watch these guys run. And not to take anything away from the girls, because we certainly had a good girls team as well. But we've been chasing that state title for many, 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 many years. And you guys finally delivered, and in such an incredible fashion. I mean, it wasn't even close. It was just astounding. So I guess this technically makes Isaac the most talented Thiessen in the house. I don't know. I'm hoping that Carl's watching when I said that, but just teasing. But we are so incredibly proud of you all for this achievement. You know, you think today that it maybe doesn't mean as much to you as it really will in a couple of decades when you look back and you think, man, that was something, right? And thank you, coaches, for what you've done, because again, this takes years and years of hard work to get these kids to the level, these young men to the level they are today. With that being said, we'd like to recognize each of you all. If you'll bear with us, I'm going to come down. You got it. I've got a little something for you. It's not a gold ring, but it's close. It's better. It's better. Where do we stand here?
You're fine there. And we'll ask them to stand and we'll take a group picture when your
Yep.
name is called up.
Once we're all up here, we're definitely going to get some pics. You ready, man?
Isaac Thiessen.
Congratulations. Just go on
Just
down
going
to the
down.
end there.
Dylan Phillips. Jack Bundy. Reeves Boltwood. Greg Poisson. Bramley Childress. Teddy Pillion. Sam Beasy. We have our head coach, Allison Newton. And assistant coach, Brent Sweeney.
So, council, how you want to do these photos? We definitely got to get some photos. Gather in the center. Tap on the shoulders.
You have to stand on something to be seen.
Just got to position it the right way. That's it.
Somebody will send me one of these. I hope.
Please, somebody text me one of these. This is great. Yeah. Way to go, guys. Thank y'all so much.
Congratulations.
Not as good as theirs.
I probably.
A lot.
So, after saying all of that, we have one more thing I'd like to recognize that I was actually very pleasantly surprised about, which was Mr. Dylan Phillips. So, I didn't realize you did videography until I saw one of your videos. And I was just like, wow, this is impressive. So, I'd also like to recognize Mr. Phillips for winning the Virginia School Board Association Student Video Contest. And I understand you were first in the state in that as well, right? Man. You guys really, truly do just keep on winning, don't you? And if I'm not mistaken, we may have the video somewhere. Floyd, are you back there? Here we go.
Bless
year, things were a little different.
Coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Universal mask mandate. Virginia's K-12 schools.
COVID-19 characterized a pandemic. All schools in Virginia to remain closed through the end of this academic year. But this year, we're back. Stronger than ever. From the Friday night lights, straight to the classroom. We're stronger together. Virginia school is now here. It's better than ever.
Wow. That's quite impressive. I mean, if this running thing doesn't pan out for you, I think you know what to do, right? Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long, and gals, but thank you all so much for representing our town in such a fantastic way. You just don't know how much it means to the council. We were so proud. And Isaac, you certainly got to rub it in on Carl, 'cause, you know. But thank y'all so much, and we don't expect you to stay for the whole meeting because get down to the nitty gritty.
They have a banquet, I think.
Oh, yeah, even better, even better. Well, thank y'all again. Let's give them a round of applause. All right. That's going to be hard to follow. But we are at the public hearing section, and we do have quite a few names signed up. As I said before, we will adhere to the 3-minute time frame for each individual speaker. If you don't mind, when you come up, state your first and last name and your address. And first on the list, we've got, I believe, Miss Shannon Walls, or Mr. Shannon, I apologize, Mr. Shannon Walls. Come on up.
Thank you. First off, congratulations to the cross-country team. Looks like they did an outstanding job. Unfortunately, I'm here on less glorious news, and the reason I'm up here is I actually need the help of the town council. So you see, so my name, sorry to not mention it, but Shannon Walls, 41344 Reimer Road, Damascus, Virginia. But the reason I came up here today is I own, since September of last year, Walls Septic Services. So if you're not familiar with septic services, we basically pump out septic tanks, grease traps, etc. So part of that business is once we go through and pump those out, we then take this to a refuge facility. You guys have one here in the town of Abingdon, Wolf Creek. So since I took over the business September of last year, I've applied 2 times to try to get my permit to haul this waste in there. Part of the problem is I've been denied the ability to get a permit to take this into Wolf Creek. I've got some other facilities that I take it to, but by not having that permit, I'm unable to service several customers here within the town of Abingdon and the surrounding county. Now, I do have a denial of permit application, or a letter from Miss Sarita Moore. In that letter, she has 4 or 5 different reasons for the denial. Every one of those is either inaccurate, false, or based on false explanation. One of the main reasons she tried to state was that I did not have a Virginia permit to go through and actually haul waste. As you can see, I'm showing you guys, here's the actual permit. So what I'm asking from the town is I think you guys have the opportunity to hold a special hearing, an appellate hearing, to see about that denial of permit. So I'm asking you guys to schedule one of those. Let's talk through all the facts and all the details so that we can get this matter resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Eric McReynolds.
Hey, good evening. Eric McReynolds, 20311 Woodhouse Lane, Washington County. Eric McReynolds, I'm here on behalf of the American History Preservation. We preserve all American history. Specifically tonight, we would like to see the statue get placed in the Veterans Park. The Southern soldiers received 3 pardons. The last one was 1958. It goes like this. Act of Congress, 23rd of May, 1958, Public Law 85-425, Section 410. Confederate soldiers that fought in the Civil War were made U.S. citizens with other benefits and rights, and that includes burial. Also, our organization would like to just suggest that the town of Abington give or sell the part of the Veterans Park if it would help the American statue get placed. And we thank you for your time. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Richard Morgan.
Thank you. I'm Richard Morgan. I live at 171 Valley Street in Abington. I'm here representing the Veterans Memorial Park Foundation and giving you their comments. The Veterans Memorial Park Foundation of Abington, Washington County, Virginia, Inc. has voted to apply to the Washington County Board of Supervisors to take possession of the statue currently located on the lawn of the Washington County, Virginia Courthouse in Abington. And it's currently referred to as the Confederate Statue Monument, with the intent to request that the monument be placed in the Veterans Memorial Park in Abington and rededicated the monument as the Common Foot Soldier, honoring all veterans of all wars. And we put emphasis on the Common Foot Soldier, which was the intent of the architect, the sculptor who did this statue. On a personal basis now, speaking for myself, I am very hopeful that this council can work with the Board of Supervisors and with the Park Foundation to move this statue there. I sincerely think it belongs there, and I hope that you all will work with them to make this happen. Thank you.
Next, we have Kristen Bresour.
Good evening. Thank you guys for your time. My name is Kristen Bresour. I'm 120 Crestview Drive in Abingdon. Do you need my zip code too?
No.
Okay. So I'm actually here working on writing a grant proposal. I'm asking you guys for a letter of support, and I'll explain the whole situation. For those of you guys who have children in town, you may be aware that currently students are not allowed to walk or bike to Abingdon's Middle High School or the Neff Center because of safety concerns on the campus. And I would like to pursue the possibility of addressing some of the concerns so that down the road we could look at allowing students to walk or bike to school. My interest is both personal and professional. I have my children go there, and I'd like to be able to let them walk or bike to school. I'm also a physician, and I feel it's very important for health reasons. And there's a lot of evidence that exercise improves both health and school performance. So anything we can do to allow kids to get more activity is to their benefit and the benefit of our community. There's a lot of students who are within a reasonable walking and biking distance of the campuses in Abingdon. And my personal opinion is alternative transportation could improve some of the traffic congestion that you guys may be familiar with in the area where everybody's trying to come in one bus and car ride a route. So there is a grant through VDOT that's called the Walkabout Mini Grant, which would provide assessment of the current areas around the school. It's due February 2nd. I'm representing a nonprofit group that would like to submit an application on behalf of the school and the town. I've already spoken with the principal of UB Stanley, who has contacted the supervisor at the school board, and they are willing to participate but want your guys' buy-in. I've spoken with several members of the town, both Ms. Rice and Mr. Surratt, both who are familiar with this type of grant funding opportunity. I don't know if I'm allowed to give you guys things, but I have a handout with the website if you need more information about the grant. So the only thing I'm really asking from you guys is a letter of support and then allowing your staff the time that it would take to go. It's just a one-day grant where VDOT goes and looks around and assesses, and so some of your staff would need to be present at that. It won't cost the town any money, and it would just give us an initial look at what our strengths and weaknesses are around the area. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead and give it to Ken. Yeah.
Can we tell her that we're working on the sidewalks?
Next up, we have Mr. John Bradley.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Colonel John Bradley. I live at 2007 McCrae Drive, Abingdon. I'm here representing the Veterans Park Board, Foundation Board, and it currently exists as combined membership of all veterans organizations, appointed town council representatives, members of the Washington County Board of Supervisors. And because of the combined membership, we have a wealth of experience and acknowledge the fact that we've raised almost $500,000 in the last 18 years for improvements in the park. We feel that the current organization best serves the community and the veterans for which the park was designed, and we oppose any additional layers of administration that might curtail the continued improvements and growth that have been planned for the park. We look for a close working relationship with the town council, and we feel that our current organization is sufficient as it stands. Thank you very much for your time.
Next up, we have Mary Boltwood.
Good evening. My name is Mary Bellewood. I live at 289 Bradley Street, Abingdon, Virginia. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you all for your service and leadership in our town. It's a sacrifice that I know that all of you guys make. I'm here to ask that the town of Abingdon not accept the placement of the Confederate soldier statue anywhere on town property. We should take this opportunity to remove this statue from public view. While it might not be offensive to all of us, there are really no words to describe the horrific history that this statue represents to our African American friends, neighbors, and visitors. Abingdon is a town that should be open and welcoming to all town and county residents, as well as tourists. Having a visible symbol of the history of enslaving and torturing African Americans on display anywhere on town property goes against the positive image of Abingdon, of being a place for all to live in and visit. As Confederate statues are rightfully being pulled down across Virginia and the nation, does Abingdon want to be that town that installs a Confederate statue? This issue could supersede all of the wonderful progress on many fronts that you, as our leaders, are bringing forward. I urge you in the most strongest way possible to not allow the placement of this statue on town property.
Next up, we have Mr. Scott Boltwood.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak, and I of course do appreciate the service that you all do. I also live at 289 Bradley Street. I am not from around here. I am over the past 28 years, as my accent has gotten a little softer. I've loved this town, whether when I first came here and I was saying you all, or now when I kind of say y'all, but my students still laugh at me. But I've never doubted the goodness of this town, and I've never felt that there are places that I cannot go. I found it to be an incredibly welcoming town. I do not speak for Emory and Henry College, but I can tell you some, I think, pertinent issues. Now, when I started the college in 1996, we had about 800 students. We had no Hispanic students. We had one Asian student, and we had about 17 or 18 African-American students. Now, with our population of about 1,200 students, we have dozens. One of my Hispanic students actually said she doesn't even know how many students there are on campus. 40, 50, 60, and of course the same with African American students, and we even have a good number of Asian students. And I bring that up because I'd like you to think about them, because if I'm comfortable in this town and I feel the warmth here, these are students who have actually said in their anonymous surveys that they feel comfortable on campus. They stay on campus, and when they leave campus, they feel uncomfortable. Very often they do not feel welcome. Now, I did my grad work at UVA, and I did my undergrad work at Cornell up in New York, and I know what bad students are like. I know students who are rowdy, who destroy property, who do thousands of dollars of damage. Our students are good kids. They're not causing problems. They're coming here from good families with the intention of graduating. But it's a common refrain that when they leave campus, they have to get ready for it. Because they're afraid, not because they're getting in trouble, but because they don't feel welcome. They don't feel what I feel. And so I think it's so important that we think about those people as we think about what's the best solution for the placement of the Confederate soldier statue, because it's those people who have the least voice and the least security that we can make the biggest impact on. So thank you very much.
Now we have Miss Johnny's Knight. Come on down.
Good evening, Mayor Webb, council members and staff. I have been asked to read this statement on behalf of Elizabeth Francine Ivory, who resides at 335 Rose Street Northwest, Abingdon, Virginia. She is out of the state right now and asked me to read this on her behalf. She says, I wish to speak to the council regarding the thought that many want the Confederate soldier statue to be moved to the Veterans Memorial Park here in Abingdon. I would assert that many do not. I am an honorably discharged United States Army veteran. I was a member of the Veterans Board from its inception and served on the board for approximately 15 years. The Veterans Park was established as a way to honor those from this locality who served and lost their lives in the defense of these United States. The Veterans Park embodies unity, inclusion, and solidarity. The Confederacy during the Civil War fought against the United States forces in order to uphold the institution of slavery in the southern states. They lost. While there are still yet those who wish to celebrate this era, it is now time to do a new thing. There is a place for the Confederate statue, but the Veterans Park is not the place for it. If we are to make significant strides in this country, beginning at the grassroots of our towns, cities, and localities, and moving forward, we need to consider and empathize with the feelings and views of all the citizens. We are moving forward. We cannot and we will not go back. Respectfully, Francine Elizabeth Ivory. Thank you.
Up next, we have Mr. Link Elmore.
My name's Link Elmore. I live at 520 Court Street here in Abingdon, and I'm not sure I can be any more eloquent than the previous speaker was. That really hit home to me. I'm here to speak as a resident of the town of Abingdon and to let you know that I think Washington County has a Confederate statue problem and the town of Abingdon does not. We are in a time when municipalities all over the Old South are taking down Confederate monuments. And indeed, in Richmond, the very capital of the Confederacy itself, the Robert E. Lee statue has been removed, and the gigantic plinth on which it stood will be taken down this month. Public sentiment on the public display of Confederate statues has shifted from past generations where it was. Some make the distinction that Washington County's statue represents not the leadership of the Confederacy, but the nobility of soldiers responding to the call to serve. I don't share that opinion. There is no nobility in serving an army dedicated to a political system that would hold others in the human bondage of slavery or to violently overthrow the U.S. government. But even if you disagree with me on that, there is a practical reason for Abingdon to not take the statue off Washington County's hands. There's nothing in it for us except the negative baggage that comes with that statue. Abingdon's economy is based on tourism. Our property tax rates are offset by the revenue from the meals and lodging tax. We need those tourists to keep coming. And they are coming from cities where statues are coming down and public sentiment has shifted. In a time when these statues are coming down, we don't want our town to be in the news for putting one up. Let the news cover the new sports complex, or the cross-country team that we just celebrated, or the Barter Theater, or the Creeper Trail. Don't let us be known as the town that celebrates those who took up arms against our country and fought for slavery. Washington County has a Confederate statue problem. The town of Abingdon does not. Thank you.
And last but not least, Mr. Wayne Craig.
My name is Wayne Craig. I live at 204 Glenrokie Drive in Abingdon. In recent meetings, speakers have come before you with the request that you allow the Confederate statue in front of the county courthouse to be erected in Veterans Park and the Confederate monument in front of the courthouse to be placed in Sinking Springs Cemetery. I'm here to ask you to deny those requests. Each year, the town spends hundreds of thousands of dollars to promote tourism in and around Abingdon. Our staff works through all types of media to encourage tourists to visit our town and enjoy our hospitality. Lots of people do not see Confederate statues as symbols of Southern hospitality and heritage. To the contrary, they view them as symbols of racism and white supremacy and find their presence to be offensive. If a Confederate statue is erected in Veterans Park, you can bet that it will devalue our annual tourism investment. Confederate statues are like magnets for demonstrations where protesters gather to draw attention to their grievances. The town is making a $12.5 million investment in a sports complex which is designed to accommodate large soccer and baseball tournaments and bring us visitors from all over our region. Please ask yourself if you think it's wise to place a controversial statue near the entry of our sports complex and risk having visitors encounter rowdy protesters. We are counting on these visitors to increase business activity and generate revenue to retire the sports complex bonds. Confederate statues have proven to be liabilities to counties, cities, and towns for a long time, and removal of the statues began in the late 60s. Some of the reasons they have been removed are: 1, safety. They attracted demonstrations where protesters were openly bearing arms and attempting to topple these statues with the crowd surrounding it. Expense: removal of graffiti, defacement repairs, routine cleaning, and demonstration cleanup became financially burdensome. Social unrest: the statues were offensive to a large part of the populace and were detrimental to the public image. In 2020 alone, 100 Confederate statues were removed by local governments from public places. I ask you not to become involved in the statue controversy by making it known that the town property is off limits to the county statue and monument. There are lots of other places in the county to relocate the statue and monument. Thank you very much.
Well, that concludes the public comments portion of the agenda.
We're on aye.
Yeah. That brings us to the public hearing, of which we have none tonight. We do have a resolution. It's a resolution entering into a memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Abingdon, Virginia, and Enhanced Abingdon Foundation. Mr. Moran.
Yes, this is the agreement that we discussed at previous council work sessions. It's just presented for adoption by the town council. So if there's any questions, feel free at this time.
Council, I know we've discussed this multiple times at great length, and in my opinion, it seems to make the most sense and seems to be done very well. Do we have any questions for Mr. Moran at this point in time? Okay. Are we ready to take action, Cam? Is that accurate? Okay. Having said all that, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution or adopt the resolution entering into a memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Abingdon, Virginia, and Enhanced Abingdon Foundation.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Vice Mayor Quetch. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Owens. Do we have any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Gilligan?
Sorry.
Aye. Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor?
Aye.
I was trying to make the red light go away and I figured it out.
That was poor timing, poor timing. All right. That brings us to first reading of ordinances. We had discussed some things in our work session, mid-monthly work session last month. And number one is an ordinance regarding proposed Abingdon Arts Commission. Mr. Moran.
Yes, this was an item we discussed at the last work session, and it's just ready for a first reading, considering the fact that this one and the next ordinance are just establishment of advisory boards. It would be my recommendation, unless there's any other discussion that we need to have before consideration, that the council adopt the ordinance, dispense with the second reading, and make the ordinances effective immediately, and then that way the town clerk can start advertising for positions or openings for seeking candidates for the positions that the town council can then appoint next year. So.
Move on both?
Well, I think we have to do them separately still, but I was just trying to summarize my sentiment for both.
So for that first
we can have discussion.
reading of the ordinance, Cam, can we do all that in one sort of fell swoop with
Yes,
that
sir.
one? or-
You may want to explain just briefly.
Sure.
Since not everybody was at the work session with that.
Yeah, the first one is the Abingdon Arts Commission. This is essentially just an advisory board that town council has a desire to establish to just sort of promote arts and culture in the community. And really, I was talking to somebody today about it who had called, asked me a question about it. We don't necessarily have a dedicated staff person for the arts. We have people that kind of do a little bit of everything, and Tanya does a lot, but there's not like one person dedicated to doing it. And we thought it would be a good idea to have an advisory board made up of citizens in the community who could help either bring contributions and make recommendations on programs and events that might be beneficial to promote art and culture in the community. So that's kind of the background on that. This is something that some of you have been talking about for a while, and just kind of formally presenting that right now, so.
Okay. Council, do we have any questions about dispel of the second reading and all that fun stuff, or anything we want to ask Cam at this point in time?
We just need to have a motion and to pass the ordinance and to waive the second reading. I'll make
And
that.
make it effective immediately, because.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Owens to adopt the ordinance and dispel of the second reading, is that what I'm hearing?
Correct, and
Okay.
start immediately.
Okay, so that it can start immediately. And then I have a second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Any discussion, council?
I think it's a great thing.
Yes, agreed.
Excellent.
Much
All right.
needed.
There's that one. The second one is an ordinance regarding.
She's got to call the roll, Mayor.
Sorry, I was speaking through it. I apologize.
I
Kim,
thought I
you should
missed
say
that
my
for a
name.
second. I was like,
Say
wow, that
my
was
name.
quick.
I apologize.
Mr.
Kim, if you'll please call the roll, yeah.
Aye.
Ms. Billion.
Aye.
Ms. Sledge.
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
All right. I'm just not on my game tonight. Kim.
Man, I'm earning all my money today.
That's
It's
it.
good. Supper's ready.
That's it. All right. So number 2 is an ordinance regarding proposed Veterans Advisory Board. Mr. Moran.
Yes, we discussed this, the concept of this at the last council work session, and it's similar in structure to, or how we presented the Abingdon Arts Commission, in the sense that we're, I think the town council has expressed, to me, that we'd like to have a committee that can promote not just one particular property or location in town, but actually promote veterans programs, raise awareness of veterans in the community in its entirety. So that is what we've presented for you this evening to consider. And if there's any questions, feel free to.
No, I have to admit, earlier before the meeting, I was asked a question about whether there was going to be a public hearing for this particular ordinance or not, and I answered that incorrectly, Mr. Morgan. I misunderstood. Inevitably, with this type of an ordinance, there's not a public hearing section. But since I was wrong and told you wrong, if you want to come up, I'll give you your 3 minutes if you'd like to address the council. And that was I apologize, I just did not understand the process.
I thought that there ought to be some kind of
Sure.
public comment, that rather than just
Yeah,
set up
and
an ordinance without
Right.
talking to the
And I
people
think,
involved.
unfortunately, I think my understanding was wrong, and I should have said, you should say your, 3 minutes.
Well,
of
I
public
was a
hearing.
little bit confused when I saw a public hearing
Sure.
here. But I would like to say that,
Sure.
first of all, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I see no reason that you have a advisory council when we already basically have one with all the activities for the veterans through the Veterans Foundation. That includes veterans organizations, the county, the town, and we are coordinating and having good success. 18 years it has existed as an organization, 18 years. $500,000 put into it and support for this. So I would hope that before you do a second reading, find out from the organizations themselves. Give us all an opportunity to talk about whether it's needed or not. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity. I appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome, yeah, and I do apologize for telling you wrong earlier.
Can I add something, Mayor?
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify to the council and the public that the Veterans Memorial Foundation is a 501c3. It's not an official advisory board of the town. The town is seeking to establish an advisory board that is an extension of the town and not a private or nonprofit organization. And I also might add that a lot of the money that's been referred to was taxpayer money that was donated by the town and the county. And we have those figures if anybody is interested. So this is not to diminish in any way what the Veterans Memorial Park Foundation has done, but I think the town, what they're trying to do is establish a Veterans Advisory Board that isn't just solely focused on one property, but veterans in general in the community, to promote programs, events, including the Veterans Memorial Park Foundation, and not just a single purpose. So I feel that's pretty much sums it up. So.
Council, any other discussion that we'd like to have? or-
And by the way, we would love to work with that, you know, the advisory board would love to work with that organization as well, as I stated to somebody previously. It's not, we're not trying to say that we're not going to work with that one entity, but they're a nonprofit entity, and this is a town advisory board.
That is one thing I had sort of hoped to point out is this is not being created as a competing entity or a mutually exclusive venture. I think the town council's perspective, if I may say this, is I think we really just wanted to work closer with the Veterans Memorial Park and also with the 501c3 that's already currently in existence. But we have far more advisory committees and boards within the town, but we just don't have one specifically for veterans and the veterans functions. So that's really all it was. It wasn't created or isn't being created as a competing entity or something to, you know, not work with what we already have. It's just kind of an extension. Is that kind of accurate to what the council's?
Extension and enhance.
Exactly, it really is. And hopefully, if we can get this advisory board created, we'll be able to actually raise even more money and have even more funding for some of these ventures that we'd like to see happen. So
Yeah, and there's lots of community events that can be done around the community to promote and to recognize veterans. And I think if it's an expansive, more broader vision or goals of a veterans advisory board, not just focused necessarily on one piece of property, I think it's just more encompassing. And I think it just, like Councilmember Owen said, I think it would just enhance the efforts that we make in the community to honor veterans.
So council, we can treat this as we treated the last ordinance. We can dispel the second reading, or we can move on to the second reading. I just needed the council's pleasure, what we would like to do. You all want to let it move on to second reading, or you want to dispel of the second reading and go ahead and take action?
I think since we had a public speaker today for the first reading, we probably should have the second.
Okay. So we're going to move on to second reading? Okay, fair enough. I think that's totally fair. That being said, I get to say the magic words that Cam has taught me so well over the past couple of years, and that is, shall the proposal be rejected? Okay, hearing nothing, it will move on to second reading, and we'll approach it again at the next scheduled council meeting. We don't have any second readings of ordinances. Maybe we do. No, I don't see any. We don't have any considerations of bids. We do have some new business that we're all very excited about. So right now, we're going to have an update regarding the Meadow Sports Complex. If Mike Surratt, Jennifer Johnson, and Kyle Pollard want to approach the council and give us all kinds of great information. Well,
we don't. Padres. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity for us to come up here and give you an update on where we're at with the sports complex. I will do the construction update. Currently, you know, if you've been out through there and you've seen it, the sports complex is moving along at a pretty fast pace. Just so everybody feels a little more comfortable, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and the complex is currently probably at about 80 to 85% complete. You know, there is the one building that we added on at the end that is still under construction, but they plan on moving through that and getting it done by the middle of January, which is our substantial completion date, and everything should be buttoned up with the contract and finished hopefully by the middle of February for our final completion inspection, and we can move on to some other business with the sports complex and get it open hopefully by this spring. But the contract is doing well and everything's moving along kind of as the plan is laid out. So that's kind of the construction update. I mean, I could go and bore you all with some really long details about things, but I won't. But yeah, it's moving along very well. We're very pleased at where it's at right now in the construction process.
Good evening, council. I'm going to talk a little bit about the programming that we have planned for the spring. First, I just want to say one of our primary goals for the new facility is really focusing on our community. Working with the local schools and the local sports organizations is something that we're really striving for, and we're continuing to work with them. as far as the tournament reservation goes, I want to give you all some numbers. So we have 30 total weeks reserved, ready to go, starting April 22nd. And we've split it right down the middle, 15 baseball, 15 softball, so we feel like we're serving everybody. We started accepting applications on November 1st, and as of today, we had 60 plus applications for the 30 weekends. So we definitely have a lot of need.
And so that's weekends, not
that's
weeks.
the weekend,
Okay,
yes. So
right.
the tournaments will only be on the weekends. Community use Monday through Thursday. So yeah. If you all have any
Pretty
questions.
exciting, right?
Yes. Yeah, we're very excited for the spring. We're ready to go, and yeah, it'll be a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cal.
Mayor Webb and Council. So I will wrap it up with sponsorship update. On November 4th, we posted Mr. Morani's letter on social media, extending opportunities to our local businesses to be a part of the Meadows sponsorship and every visitor's experience that comes into the complex. And since then, we have secured all but 9 outfield signs. So in front of you, you have just a copy of what that sponsorship agreement, and all of those, of course, with the red stripe through, means that those are spoken for. So of the potential $78,000 per year sponsorship, we are at currently at 48,000 of those, with those 9 remaining. We continue to field phone calls daily with those interests. So I'm positive that by April, when those feet hit the field, we will have a beautiful display of our local businesses for everybody to come in and see. So do you all have any questions about construction, reservations, sponsorships?
I just have a comment. It all sounds very, very exciting, and it seems to be coming to fruition very quickly. So I know I, for one, am very excited about the potential here. And I guess this is are we in our 6th or 7th year of waiting, if you will,
Yes.
to see this come to fruition. So I'm pretty excited about the grand opening that we're working on. So
And we
great
are
work.
looking at mid-April for that, so more details to come on that grand opening and what's going to be happening on that day. So
Well, thank you all so much.
thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Mike, we didn't get a coyote update. Working good?
We got some new ones.
Other wildlife. We'll get on that,
Well,
Chief.
All right. Don't think we have any old business tonight. We perhaps have miscellaneous business and communications from the town manager. Jimmy, do you have anything we missed?
I don't think I have anything that's urgent to report on, other than I did gain a few pounds over the holiday weekend. That's about it.
I think we can all say none of us are surprised, Jimmy. So- Sorry, I had to say it. You set yourself up for that one.
I'm working my way back.
I'm in the same boat. Well, if nothing else, Jimmy, then we'll move on to council member reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share with the community tonight? Well, I, for one, would like to say that the Christmas parade, I just want to shake a nod or throw a nod out there to Kiwanis for the Christmas parade, because it was fantastic.
Whatever they did with the weather was great.
That's it. The weather helped.
Phenomenal.
But I meant to say something publicly on behalf of them, because really they did a great job. There were more people lining the streets than I have ever seen in all the years that I've been in Abingdon for the Christmas parade. It was absolutely packed. So, what a great event. I know Amanda and I had a lot of fun throwing placing candy in the hands of small children.
We ran out of candy twice.
We
There
had
were so many kids.
2,700 pieces of candy, and it didn't even scratch the surface. I mean, honestly, it was wild. So I just have to say that was a great event. I was very excited, and I hope next year we can trump that one. So, anybody else?
Mayor, I would just think it would be remiss on the cross-country awards to not acknowledge the great service of Donald Arcumbo and the foundation that he laid that led ultimately to this. So he was very near and dear to both of our hearts, and so I think he needed to be mentioned.
I tried, and Cam, you're absolutely right. Many of you may be familiar, but we Don Cumbo, the legend, if you will, cross-country coach for Abingdon High, who coached both Cam and myself many years ago. We did a tribute to Coach Cumbo on the Cripper Trail back a couple of months ago. And the reason I didn't mention it was because I didn't want to get too choked up about all of it. But there, if you're interested in looking, there is a dedication, a bench on the Cripper Trail. I guess it's about a quarter of a mile out from the trailhead in the bend there. That's a memorial to Coach Cumbo, and he tried for so many decades to win a state title, and we finally brought it home this year. So it was kind of a sentimental time for me, pretty special getting to see those kids run, and again, in dominating fashion. So thank you, Cam, for bringing that up. That's much needed. Anybody else? Council member reports? I'll stop talking. Now we do have 2 closed sessions. I would entertain a motion to go into those closed sessions.
I move that the Abingdon Town Council convene in closed session to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, personal matter involving consideration or interviews of candidates for employment or appointment, and also salary or other compensation of a specific employee, council appointee.
All right, I've got a motion to go into closed session for those 2 reasons. Do I have a second? That's by
Second.
Mr. Owens, second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hilliard?
Aye.
Ms. Wedge?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb?
Aye. We're going into closed session.
Give me just a second here, Doug. Give me borrow your pen just a second. Jeff Johnson.
It's lawyer proof.
Ain't no such thing. To give Santa Claus.
Oh, nice.
That's an ornament.
Put it beside my other ornament. We didn't get one last year. We didn't get an ornament last year.
Hey, I'm learning. That's from me.
Thank you, Mayor Webb.
Just so you know, I paid for this.
I'm gonna put it proudly
out of my
beside my
pocket.
other Abingdon ornament.
Not out of
Derek?
the mayor
Thank you,
contingency,
Derek.
out of my
I'm gonna have to
pocket.
put my Christmas tree up first, though.
There was a 2020.
Yeah, right?
We were back live at Distinction there.
Yep, we're live.
Need a motion to come back into open session?
Correct.
Yes, I'd like to make a,
Just come back into open session, is what you mean first.
I move to reconvene in open session.
I've got a motion to come back into open session by Mr. Owens. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Gilliam?
Aye.
Ms. Swash?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb?
Aye. And now we need to certify,
I move that town council certify that in closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session, and two, lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in the motion.
Mr. Owens, do you so certify?
I do certify.
Ms. Gilliam?
I so certify.
Ms. Swash?
I so certify.
And Mayor Webb?
I so certify. All right, coming out of the closed session, we do have some appointments to board and committees to make. I think we're gonna take all three up at one time. We've got an appointment to the Planning Commission to fill the vacancy of Wayne Austin, who is ineligible to serve an additional term. An appointment to fill the vacancy of Chris Sullivan on the Tree Commission, who is ineligible to serve an additional term. And then reappointment of Tracy Meek, who is eligible to serve an additional term on the Abingdon Redevelopment and Housing Authority. I would open the floor for nominations for those three commissions and authorities all at one time, if you like.
I make a motion that we appoint Jeff Johnson to the Planning Commission, Mr. Lacoba to the Tree Commission, and reappoint Tracy Meek to the Abingdon Redevelopment and Housing Authority.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Owens. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Pillion. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Gilliam?
Aye.
Ms. Swash?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb?
Aye. So, Kim, Jimmy, Cam, council, chief, have I missed anything?
You might have, but I don't know what it is.
That means we didn't miss anything. All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Hey, we made it.